Happy Monday! It's Monday, March 8th, Sports Snippets. Dennis Sullivan, how in the world are you doing? Here to talk about the all-time leading scorers of the NBA and ultimately the realistic chances of one LeBron James. Can he do it? Can he catch Kareem? We're going to discuss that in this video. If you do like the content of this particular video, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, feel free to subscribe. Yes, that's right. You can do that. Subscribe to Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan. So, guys, let's get into this. Let's get into the chances, the realistic chances that LeBron James has to catch the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the all-time leading scorer in the National Basketball Association. Now, before we get started, guys, this is a very, in my opinion, as just a regular sports fan, this is a big deal. This is a really, really big deal mainly because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar really set the standard here. When he retired in 1989, by the way, at the age of 42, Kareem, whose career spanned from the late 60s through the 70s and basically through the 80s, he would retire with 38,317 points as the #1 scorer in the history of professional basketball in the United States. National Basketball Association record has held strong now for 32 years, and it will hold strong for at least another few years because we're going to get into the breakdown of this whole scenario. But I must say, LeBron's chances, even in comparison to how it looked a year or two ago, are starting to look better and better and better, mainly because the fact he just hasn't slowed down his productivity as LeBron James. Karl Malone is sitting at number 2, 36,928, who had a spectacular career in his own right. There's no doubt LeBron's going to catch Karl Malone. That's going to happen. That's going to happen, guys. We'll go through some numbers here. That's going to happen in about 68 or so games if he continues his current pace, does LeBron. He won't do it this year. He's going to do it sometime next year, in all likelihood. Then third all-time, you have LeBron James. And by doing it, I mean moving into second all-time. He will be the second all-time leading scorer by next year. LeBron James, number 3 all-time, 35,171. I wrote down some additional numbers, which we will discuss, as we're going to get into right now. And this is how we stand. Kareem, Karl Malone, LeBron James, your top 3 scorers of all time. When we talk about Kareem, I mean, we're sitting here for decades, guys. No one's ever going to catch him, right? He had the unstoppable sky hook that we haven't seen anyone duplicate his style at all, and we may never see anyone duplicate Kareem's style. He was one of a kind. He basically had an unblockable shot, over 7 feet tall. He had everything going for him, plus the championships. I mean, those of you who are fans that are, say, early to mid-40s and older, you remember, more than likely, you remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Karl Malone came along. His big years were in the 90s. All those years with the Jazz, John Stockton, he played with a great point guard, more of a power forward, simply a sturdy, reliable, great player was Karl Malone. Hardly ever missed time. By time I mean hardly ever missed any games, stayed healthy throughout his career for the most part, and had a long career. Obviously, you got to have a long career to be on this list, guys. Now we have LeBron. Now, LeBron's birthday, which factors into all this, by the way. Now we're going to get into the likelihood and all that stuff part of the video. LeBron's birthday is December the 30th, 1984 he was born. Which means as we get into starting next year, he will be turning 37 years of age. He's not going to break the record next year. So if you look at the likely, what are we looking at here? We're looking at about 3,200 points. 3,216 points. LeBron's totals are going into, by the way, going into All-Star Weekend. So today's March 8th. Monday, he needs about 3,216 points. Now the interesting thing, guys, is that LeBron last year averaged still very, very, very impressive 25.3 points per game last year. His career average was 27 points a game. So, yeah, he's curtailed. He's gone down, but just very little, guys. That's the key here. Last year, now let's go back last year, 25.3. He comes back this year through 30 some odd games. His scoring average actually went up. That's the crazy part about this whole thing. His scoring average went from 25.3 last year to 25.8 this year, which is absolutely phenomenal for a 36-year-old NBA player who's played all those games. So to catch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if LeBron stays, now we don't know this part of will he be able to maintain 25.5 to 26 points a game. If he does, and he continues to average right at about 25.5 points a game, he'll need about 126 games to tie Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 126 games, you figure you're looking at around, we'll say he plays in, let's say 31, 32 more this year, because his team's got about 35, 36, something like that. So if we give him, let's say 31 games this year, that'll put him at about 95 regular season games that he'll need, which he's not going to get next year. It's only 82 games in a regular season, meaning when he starts next year, he's 37, he plays that season, right? Let's say he plays 70 games. Now he's going to start the next year. He'll be 38. In all likelihood, this is just in all likelihood, the season where he's 38 years old, if he stays healthy and if he maintains his level of productivity, he should be hitting the record, the all-time record, around mid-season, or maybe even a little bit before mid-season if all goes well. But again, he's got to, of course, stay healthy. This is without him playing every single game. He'll hit it around mid-season when he's 38 years old. If his scoring starts to decline, which could easily happen, guys. Come on, you're hitting in your late 30s. Let's say he's averaging 24 points a game. Okay, he'll need about 134 games, meaning he's going to need about a little over 100 after this year. Let's say he plays in 70 of the 82 next year, which is a lot. He's going to need maybe a little more than half the year again of that next year. So we're looking at the start of the season where he turns, it's going to be that season where he's 38 years old. That's what he's targeting. Otherwise, if it takes longer, let's say his scoring goes down, right? Or who knows, maybe he has to miss games for, hopefully not, but for injury. Now he's starting to get into 39. Now it gets really questionable. So as long as he really stays healthy, guys, the chances of LeBron James, and the big thing is, it's not so much, and I like LeBron, I'm a fan of LeBron's, I've always liked him as a player, but this is a big deal. Even if you don't follow really LeBron, or you could even just be a moderate basketball fan, for him to match Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's a big deal. So he could realistically keep that average scoring around 24, 25. He'll be doing this in a couple of years from now. We're looking at about 126 to 135, 36 games. That's what you're looking at, guys. Karl Malone, he's going to be number 2 in about 68 games, roughly. if he maintains his scoring average of 25. If he doesn't, we're looking at more like 70, 75 games. So right around the All-Star break of next year, he'll be right near Karl Malone. Now, it could take him a little longer if his productivity goes down, of course, misses games like that. But we should see a Karl Malone match coming up soon. And then followed by, there you go, because you got, look, about 1,800 to get to Malone. A little less than 1,800 to get to Malone. And then about 1,400 more to get to Kareem. So it's like next year, 2022, and then 2023, Kareem. Those are the targets. If you would, I'll end this video by saying this, guys. If you were to say to me 2 years ago, will LeBron catch Kareem? I would probably say no. He probably won't. If you were to ask me this a year ago, I would say to you, it's up in the air. Maybe, maybe not. Because he's basically picked up the pace this past year, brought his scoring average up a half a point a game, which is phenomenal. Is that only a point, just under his career average, 27 a game. He's averaging almost 26. So now it's looking really good that he's going to do this. So leave me some comments. Let me know what you think on this. That's all for now, guys. Very interesting stuff. History is in the making. A record that's now at 32 years, running strong. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, your all-time leading scorer in the NBA. This record is in jeopardy. Leave me a comment. Go ahead, hit that like button. We'll talk soon. Until next time, bye for now.